Hi everyone, welcome back to Young and Wifed Up. This is Marcella.
And I'm Gabby.
And thanks for joining us this week for another episode.
Before we get started on today's topic, I'm going to quickly talk to you guys about Imperfect Foods. It is a grocery subscription service where you go in and you go through an online grocery store. You put things in your cart. You can skip weeks. You don't have to have any financial commitment at all. And the company Imperfect Foods rescues food from going to the landfill. So if there's an oversupply from a distributor or a manufacturer, or if there's like small what is the word I'm looking for? Like physical defects, like say like an apple is like too big, or like there's like cosmetic issues with some packaging or whatever. Instead of putting it in the landfill, they resell it to you at a discount. It is a great service. I just got my box last week, and they have tons of seasonal items right now, including like really fun coffee creamers and different baked goods and stuff. But my like favorite thing to get there is the organic garlic heads and the red onions. The onions are massive.
Really? I don't remember getting onions from there before.
I love the red onions from Imperfect Foods. And then I also always get the grass-fed butter from there and some pasture-raised eggs. I can get most of my grocery shopping done from Imperfect Foods. And it's really good, nutritious food for less of a cost to you and less of a cost to the environment. So head to youngandwifedup.com to get I think it's $25 off of your first order.
I think.
Do not quote me on that, but I think it's
like 20 or 25.
Yeah,
something like that.
Something with a 2 in it to get a discount. And yeah, so you can go shopping and try some of the fun little seasonal stuff and see if you like it.
Cool.
All right, dude. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about looking back and looking forward.
Talk about cheese.
That's so cheesy. Also, I have I just ate a candy cane JoJo, you know, like from Trader Joe's.
Cookie.
And now, you know, like when you have an Oreo and
stuck in your
like
teeth.
it's all, like all the black stuff is just like in your teeth. I feel like it's really in there right now, and I'm very self-conscious.
I'm sorry, you can't see anything, but maybe you can. I don't know. I can't.
You're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to it, you literally don't.
It doesn't even matter. Why are we even talking about it?
Those are good though. You should go get them.
Yeah, before they are not seasonal anymore. I hate that.
I hate that too.
Some things that shouldn't be seasonal are the Echinacea lemon ginger juice.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Why is that seasonal? It was seasonal in the spring, and I'm like, I need it during cold and flu season. Why is this happening to me?
Yeah,
I miss it.
I don't know. Summer colds
Bring it
are
back.
a thing.
No, I'm sorry. I need it now. I need it year round. This is my official complaint to Trader Joe's.
Trader
Nobody's
Joe's
going to
should
listen.
have a section solely for their seasonal items, but surprise, they're just there all the time.
I love that. We should work for Trader Joe's. Anyway, so we're going to look back on our 2022 and look forward to 2023. So we're going to talk about our personal growth and goals that we achieved in 2022 first. So okay, so spiritually, I was kind of reflecting on different areas of my life. One of the biggest goals that Ryan and I have had for our family is consistent family worship. And if you haven't listened to our episode on family worship, it was last season's episode just titled Family Worship. And we talk about all about that. It's specifically fathers and husbands leading their family in devotional and prayer together. And so we have consistently done it almost every day. There are some days where it didn't happen, but we at least prayed together or something. But that's something that I've seen that's been a huge spiritual growth for us as a family. And just for me too, like my husband washing me in the word and it being a huge blessing to my life. So that was one of the biggest goals that we've achieved. And then a personal goal that I had was to read 20 books in 2022. And I have read 50. By the time this episode goes up, I'm going to have finished Lord of the Rings. But right now I'm like 70% of the way there. So
the first book.
Yeah, the first book. Yeah. So I will have read 50 books by the time this episode goes out. And that was a huge goal of mine that I am very shocked that I not only met, but completely surpassed. And I don't plan on stopping. So maybe next year my goal should be 100 books and we'll see if we get there. That means I have to read like 3 a week, essentially 2 a week. Anyway, a homemaking homemaking. I'm struggling. Okay. A homemaking goal that I had for myself. I wanted to adopt and practice a new home management system that worked for me. And I did do that. I adopted the Fly Lady method into my home management system. And I completely love it. I talk about it all the time. You're probably sick of me talking about it, but I'm sorry. It's just it's genuinely changed my life. I didn't start it in the beginning of the year, but I started it in the summertime. And I'm going to continue using it until I get bored of it and try a different one. But yeah, I love it. So that was one of my homemaking goals. And I've seen that bless our home so much. One of my health goals was to see a rheumatologist, which I know kind of sounds silly, but like getting in with a specialist is extremely difficult when you have chronic illness.
Takes so long.
Yes. Yeah. And so one of the goals was to rule out other autoimmune conditions, and seeing the rheumatologist really was a huge blessing to me because we did find out that I do have a possible additional autoimmune issue. So I'm still on the road of learning about my body and figuring out what's going on with me, but there was a lot of improvements that have happened with some of my symptoms that I've struggled with for so long. We've found, we're still experimenting, me and my doctor, about things that could help me improve my symptoms, but I've seen a huge increase in my quality of life since we implemented certain things into my health regimen. And so that is a huge blessing to me because 2021 was very hard for me. And it's actually interesting. 2022 was really hard physically for me too. But I just see the Lord's hand, like with chronic illness, you have to rejoice in some of the little things that, that the Lord
of progress.
Yeah, the Lord has blessed you with. And I can see how there's a lot of things like, my flare-ups are way fewer and far between than they were before. And so that in itself is a huge victory. And then I've also really slowed down my lifestyle to accommodate my health and my body. And mostly in the past couple months, I've been slowing it down, and it's going to continue. And then my hospitality goal, I wanted us to host a lot more in our home, especially since we were living in a 1-bedroom, and then at the end of 2021, we moved into a 2-bedroom. So at the start of this year, I really wanted to open our home more. So we have a lot every week. Like I said in our episode about holidays, we host Sabbath dinners almost every week. It's like 3 out of the 4 Sundays of each month. And we host our midweek church's Bible study as well in our home. And then we've also hosted my grandparents for a weekend who live in Tennessee now. And we have people over like several times a week, and it's just been a huge blessing. So I'm so happy that we met that goal when before we almost had nobody over, and now our home is like a central location where there's feasting and rejoicing together and praying together, and it's just a really sweet time. And then because I'm so thankful, I wrote down a lot of goals like in a planner at the beginning of the year, so I was able to kind of look back and see what we did achieve. And one of the goals was to grow our podcast community, and we have doubled it in this year. And so that is a huge blessing.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for helping us meet one of my goals, that we would grow our community and that we would have more women that we would get closer to and can make connections with and friendships with. And even like we're so blessed. This past week, we had a phone call with one of our patrons on Facebook, and it's just like so sweet how we've been able to, you know, grow our relationship with her.
Yeah, personally, like,
just in the last couple months since she's become a patron for us. And it's just, I don't know, it's just such a blessing. We're so thankful for all of you women that pour into Marcella and I and invest in us, even just by listening and by supporting us and just making connections with us, because it's hard going through this life alone, and we feel like we have friends in you guys. So thank you guys so much for helping us meet that goal. Well, let's hand it off to Marcella. What have you achieved in 2022?
I literally just copy and pasted the list. You made it. I was
so
like,
bad.
What was this goal for this category?
It's helpful to have some categories.
Yeah, no, it was good. Okay, so like for my spiritual goal was, I felt like before there were a lot of like unsettled convictions that I had. It's like, you know, this is something that maybe you should kind of decide what side of the fence you kind of fall on. And so I kind of took to studying more and researching and like settling on those things that I previously felt unsettled about, which has been very just like a huge blessing to me. And also just generally reading my Bible more. I read my Bible, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, although that should be my goal for next year.
Yeah.
But I read for myself. I also read to the boys on a very regular basis. And I'm like, you know, trying to work on memory verses with Seth and stuff like that, and like all the catechisms and all of that. And so that was kind of my goal for him too, because like
he's doing so good. It's so cute.
It's so cute. It's so cute. And he like maybe I should like take a video of him saying it and put it on the Patreon or something.
You have to.
It's really
so
sweet.
Cute.
He like sometimes he just gets eager and skips a lot of the words, like the filler words in between the main ones, and then you're like, okay, that was
he tried.
Yeah. I understand what
the general idea is out there.
Yeah, but that was probably the gist of my like spiritual goals. And I think also just being more involved in like consistent and going to church. And I think we have definitely, that has improved significantly. And it also helps having kind of a smaller, tight-knit group of people, because
can't get away with it.
No, you can't. Like, you can't hide. Like, you can't skip very often, because a million people are texting you, where are you? Like, we miss you. It's like, okay. Which is good, as they should be.
Yeah.
As far as personal goals, mine was to improve my mental health and also postpartum recovery. And I know like with Eli, because he was born in October of 2021, but as 2022 came around, there's still like a risk, you know, you're still at risk for developing mental health issues in postpartum. It's not just like, oh, the 3 months after and then you're good after that. It's like, no, it can develop honestly at any point. You like, after you have a baby, you're just in postpartum forever. So so because of just like the really rough experience that I had with my mental health with Seth, I was very proactive in making sure that I was preparing myself mentally and also physically for postpartum with Eli, because I was like, I do not want to go through this again. It was miserable. I was miserable. Jed was miserable. Everybody was miserable.
We were all scared.
Everybody was scared. Everybody's scared.
It's okay, baby. We still love you.
It was rough. But like, I think just like, you know, nursing was so much easier. Like the sleep came about much easier. Natural, and so like, you know, you feel more experienced and like settled with the second one, and then, you know, with all of the other ones after that if you have more children. But I felt very prepared, and it was like I knew what was coming. I knew what was going to be happening. It's like I have to start thinking about this now. And so in 2022, I feel like also the Lord has just sanctified me so much in the past year. Like I have seen, and I don't want to like sound prideful in this, but I have seen tremendous growth like in myself, like even in how I deal with the boys on a daily basis, with the frustrations that come with little children. And then like, you know, now having two toddlers and like boys are just very rambunctious and very energetic, and it's like, it's just a lot, all at once. And so being able to calmly deal with things and like having the patience for it, and like also seeing the Lord like take away some of the stuff that I was dealing with before, and like removing those things, and also equipping me with the resources and the tools to help myself. And so I feel like that like improved greatly this past year, which I'm very grateful for. And I think in turn also helped Jed and I too in our marriage, and like helping with the conflict that can come with adding new babies into the family, which is, it can be a huge routine change. So homemaking goal was to make more food at home from scratch, making sourdough, I think I've definitely upped my game in the past year. Pretty much all of like our baked goods I make from home from scratch. It's like kind of nice, like not having to put bread on my shopping list anymore, because I'm just making it. Like I'm going through a lot of flour, and you have to make sure you have the ingredients and stuff. But that, and just like, trying to get the sourdough thing started, which I was wanting to do for a couple of years. And I was like, okay, I just have to do it. Because sometimes there's just like too many things, too many recipes. People have too many tips, and you're just like, I just got to do it, and like trial and error. So working on that, and just recently this past week, I like made homemade pasta, and like I make fruit snacks for the boys, because like we like reward Seth with like little gummies and stuff like that for like for like pooping on the potty. Whatever works, man. And like sometimes like those things, it's like when you learn about nutrition and you go to the store and you look at stuff, and you just like, you can't unsee or like unknow the things that you've learned. And it's like
I could just make
it at home. And even just like things like mayonnaise and ranch and like all just like stuff like that. It's like being able to know that I can do that, and I have so much more confidence now in the kitchen that I've kind of put myself out there, and like sometimes it doesn't end up great every time, and like I have to tweak a recipe or like change it up or find something different. And but that's been another big one for me. Health goal has been prioritizing nutrition, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the mental health situation, and also like the postpartum recovery, and also cooking more. But trying to learn more about like, I'm not just tasked with nourishing my own body and being a good steward of my own body, but I'm also like the gatekeeper of like what kind of food comes into my home with the rest of my family, and like making sure that my boys are fed well, and that boys have different nutritional needs. Like my husband has different nutritional needs than I do, and so like having to get into research with that sort of a thing, that was very time consuming, I think, in the beginning of the year, but I think we've kind of like settled into a new rhythm, and like in reintroducing foods back in that we weren't having before, and learning more about like we very much like the like ancestral nutrition, like nourishing traditions and all of that. We are definitely in that lane of things, and I think it has like really done wonders for us, and I think a lot of people could probably attest to the same thing. And if you're not familiar with that, it's based off of like the research from Weston A. Price. So focusing on that, learning more about that, like implementing those things that I've learned researching has been a big thing. And then as far as hospitality goes, making my home more hospitable to my own family. I think sometimes like hospitality can look different depending on what phase of life that you're in. And it's funny because my pastor just recently did a sermon on hospitality where he talked about Christians have a misconception that it only means inviting people into your home, and you can invite people into your home and act inhospitably to them. And so but then we think about, well, how many guests can I have over? Like how many strangers can I invite into my home, or how many friends, how many families can I have over? but then you act mean and ugly to your own family, right, and you don't provide even just a warm, comforting, welcoming environment for your own flesh and blood and like the person you're like in a covenant with. It's like, right, that should be the first priority, is making sure that your family does not feel like guests in their own home. Mm-hmm. And so it's been a little bit hard because we are currently subleasing from my parents, and so I don't have full reign over the whole house. Like, I don't really get a say in a lot of like where the furniture goes in the main like living areas, like the dining room, kitchen, and like all that stuff. So that has presented its new challenges as well. But for what I could control is like trying my best, to make sure that, this in the seasons changing, and like making sure that the people in my family have what they need and all that sort of stuff. It's been a challenge. I think it'll be nice to be back in our own place where I can kind of have more reign over over how I want to decorate and like all of that stuff, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, that's been like the 2022 things I feel like I've grown in the most. I've been very grateful for. Yeah, no, I feel like your life has, even though like the circumstance of you living at mom and dad's house, like you still, make it a beautiful home for your family. And, and I'm sure, and I know for a fact that it's also blessed mom and dad too, that you're there, and your presence and warmth makes it hospitable for them as well. Yeah. Okay, so going into our 2023 goals and preparations. So it's honestly hard for me to talk about this because it's like our life is going to look so different next year. Like, I can't even predict anything. Yeah. I genuinely, like, Ryan and I last night when I was making like my little planner, I was so excited, and he was asking me about it. And he was like, "Oh, we should plan like our year together." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Our life is about to be a one step at a time flipped situation. Upside down. I can't even think about next year, and the only thing I could think about is the immediate new thing that's going to happen, which is both Marcella and I are going to be moving to different states, which is going to be an extremely drastic change. Neither of us have lived anywhere outside of California before, or even outside of Southern California. The farthest I've lived is in downtown LA, which is an hour and a half away. And I've never left like the same 30-minute radius. So yeah, it's just like that in itself is just terrifying. And both of our families are leaving in the spring sometime, Lord willing, early spring. Otherwise, I don't know what's gonna happen. But that's the hope. That's the plan. And so because of that, like, I can't even like fathom anything outside of that, because the only thing I can think of is we need to find a place to live. And because you don't know what the living circumstance, what the housing situation, and so I kind of have some like general things, because on top of that, because of that, I'm not going to be working anymore, and so I'm closing my studio like permanently. I don't plan on teaching when we move. And if I do, it won't be for a very long time. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon if I ever start teaching again. And so because of that, my entire lifestyle is going to change. So my goals are going to be very centered on filling my days with homemaking and mother culture. And Lord willing, the Lord will bless us with a child. It's our greatest desire. And of course, that takes up the majority of your life and your day. But in the meantime, while we're waiting on the Lord for a child, for those things, like my goals are to, focus on the homemaking arts. A lot of things I've been able to develop over the years, because even though I have worked outside of the home for most of our entire marriage up until now, even though I have worked outside of the home, all this time, I have really done my best to, cook a lot of food from scratch, and to, make our house beautiful, and to have, I implemented my new cleaning routine and those sort of things. And so I don't think I've ever neglected my duty as a homemaker, but now
for it to become my entire job, like my vocation. Yeah. It's very scary and very exciting, both at the same time. So all of my goals are kind of centered around that. Like, of course, like essentially all the things that I do now are going to be completely magnified. And I just started dabbling in sewing, and I've been embroidering for a little bit, but I've like recently like got remotivated to embroider. And I realized that those things genuinely like bring me joy and happiness, and I want to kind of lean into those things more. And so all of my goals, once we're settled wherever we live, you know, making that home beautiful and just completely giving into the homemaker side of myself. And so I'm very excited. And then of course, like, you know, Ryan and I have a church that we're going to be attending when we move there, that we know. And we are already like looking forward to not just becoming members there, but also, just serving a new Christian community and, you know, being able to, you know, do good there. And I'm excited that I'll be able to focus even more on, you know, serving our church family and being a part of that community. So those are kind of the things that I'm working through and that I'm planning on. And since it's the first time I'm saying this, like publicly, I guess, like all of our close family and friends will have known by now, by the end of this month, which is when it's coming out in December, that Ryan and I are moving. We're moving to Nevada. So it's not completely the other side of the world, but to us, like it is away from the entire world that Ryan and I know. So neither of us have left Southern California before. So it's going to be a huge step of faith for Ryan and I, especially because where we're going, we don't have any family there. And so it's going to be a huge change for Ryan and I to be completely independent, you know, like the Peacock family, just like we're just going, you know, and of course we're, you know, joining ourselves to a local church that we, you know, love and are excited to be a part of that community. And we pray that, you know, we'll be as blessed there as we have been in our Christian community in our current church now, you know, and we're pray that the Lord would bless that. But yeah, it's going to be a wild ride. So we'll keep you updated on how crazy it is. Yeah. Because our rough plan or rough idea is, because we're going to start looking in this early spring, is that we'll probably do one more month of Young and Wifed Up episodes. So like next month we'll have a season finale, and then we'll take a break. And then when we come back, Lord willing, if we come back like to the podcast, it'll be Zoom exclusively.
Yeah, I won't
be able to come. I mean, of course I'd love to meet up once a month and do this whole thing with her in person, but
it's very expensive.
But yeah, so where are you going, Marcella? You're leaving too.
Yeah, so Jen and I had decided, I don't know how long, it's maybe like a year and a half ago, that we had settled on wanting to move out of state, and we just weren't really sure yet where we were wanting to look. And so we had narrowed it down to a couple of places. And eventually we settled on moving to Tennessee. So we will also be moving kind of around the same time, hopefully like early spring. And thankfully our circumstance is a little bit different because we're going to have a lot of family out there. My aunt and uncle currently have lived out there for many years in the past. My grandparents just recently moved out there in the past month. Ish. Well, it'll be longer than that since this goes live. But and then my parents are also going to be moving in, you know, in that area as well. So we'll have lots of support in that sense, and we're also really grateful because there's also a church out there that we've been in communication with the pastor and in contact with him. And if, Lord willing, we do end up right in the area where we want to be, then we will be going to that church, which we're very excited for. He's very sweet and has been very helpful in kind of helping us, because he's been there for quite a few years now. And so he's been kind of like helping us navigate what are good areas and like what are not so great. And so that's been really nice, just being able to make a connection with somebody that we would never have if we never planned on leaving California. So yeah, we're excited too for the same reasons of being able to serve a new church community, and we will be so sad to leave our current church because we've just grown so close to the people there, having become members and, you know, walking side by side with these people, struggling together and rejoicing together, worshiping together. It really does bond you.
Yeah.
And
agreed,
so,
ditto.
yeah, so it'll be very, very, even with the families from your church that we have grown so close to and fellowship with on a regular basis, on a weekly basis even. And that'll be really hard, but, you know, you have to be obedient. And this is, you know, this is where the Lord has been pushing us towards. And so we are moving in that direction, and it will be even crazier because the climate is completely different.
Yeah,
like
you're moving
it
to
is,
the south,
it is
homegirl.
literally nothing like California. Like I feel like there's some familiarity with like in comparison from like Nevada to California, but like Tennessee to California is just like it's a foreign world.
Yeah, so, it's another world. Yeah, completely.
Literally. So, but we're very excited, and it is so beautiful out there. And we think it's just going to be a really great place for us to get settled down.
Yeah.
So there's that. And obviously whatever will come with that, I have no idea. We're just going to have to find out. But as far as other things, I would like to read 125 books next year.
You're a psychopath.
Okay. This year, so far I've read 62 books and I started in July.
Yeah, you're crazy.
There was like 1 month, I think I read like 14 books in 1 month. I don't know how I did that. So I'm hoping if I can kind of keep up that pace, then maybe I'll be able to reach 125 next year. I think would be really cool.
We're going to have to wager on that because I want to beat you. Since I will no longer be employed, I'm going to beat you.
We'll see.
That's honestly, the only thing that holds me back.
Honestly, you probably will. You'll be like, I reached 300 books and it's March. So yeah, I would love to read more books. I feel like I've just really fallen in love with reading and I want to continue that. Also just honing more of my like cooking and baking skills and like perfecting things that I've already started. And I've been recently working on having my own recipe book. Where I can keep all of my tried and true things in one central location. Because right now it's mostly just like dumb screenshots on my phone that I'm like always scrolling through and like trying to find for like 15 minutes before I remember where it is. So I'm trying to like print all of this stuff and like get it filed into a filer, like a folder and all of that. Also, I'd really love to like start like an apothecary situation of like being able to provide more like medicinal things for my family, and I have started some of that, but I think, you know, even because of the area that we're moving to, there will be more a variety because right now we're like in the middle of the desert, and it's dry and brown and there's nothing to forge. No, there's literally nothing to forge, so that would be fun to get into. And then hopefully when we do move into a new place, I can get back to decorating and kind of curating my home how I want it. All of my stuff is in storage right now, and it's sad because whenever we go back to the storage unit, I'm like going through the boxes like, oh, I missed this. Like I haven't seen this in so long because I haven't had it, you know, I haven't had it out because, you know, my parents have had all of their own kitchen stuff, so we just use whatever they have. So, I mean, it'd be silly to have duplicates of everything. Yeah. So yeah, that'll be really nice to get back into like homemaking. Yes. You know.
We're both very excited and also terrified. Please pray for us.
It's gonna be crazy.
And like, I don't know, I'm just excited to see like how the Lord like changes our families' lives, and you know, it is really crazy that everything is happening all at once. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. I think the Lord is orienting our hearts to consider where our permanent homes are going to be and where we can serve God and glorify Him and serve our community. And so, yeah, so we're excited for 2023. Please, on our Facebook group, I'm going to make a post this week about what are your goals, what are the things that you achieved in 2022, and what are your personal goals for 2023. We know lots of people that are also moving, having babies. getting married, settling down, buying houses. And so we'd love to hear all of the things that the Lord has done for you this year and all of the things that you're looking forward to in 2023. So we hope you guys have a blessed week. We have one more bonus episode that is on our Patreon account, so go and listen to that, and then we'll see you in 2023. Bye.
Bye.